Today's World Meteorological Day, and the focus is on climate change and the reasons each of us needs to know more about the changes that have already begun to affect weather patterns and temperatures around the globe. We here at the GIS encourage you to learn more about climate change so you can become a part of the solution. To know more, visit odpem.org.jm. Hello and welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. We have a solid show for you today, which includes a look at the government's newly published growth strategy. We get things going with the news of the day.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale and this is your GIS News for Monday, March 23. A little over 90% of the burnt area of the Riverton disposal site has now been covered. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management ODPEM says additional resources have been placed at the site to fast-track coverage of the remaining areas. Up to Monday morning, ODPEM told GIS News that it continued to get reports of intermittent smoke in areas of Portmore, particularly the Waterford community. The agency said this was partly due to the cover material being used to smother the fire. On Friday, local government minister Noel Scott viewed the operations at Riverton and later announced that he had appointed a team to review the operations of the National Solid Waste Management Authority.
These reports will come to me in short order and we'll see how we can move it from there.
He said the ministry was also looking at a number of programs for improving operations at the disposal site.
Currently we have an expression of interest, EOI, out for those who are interested to deal with waste management. We have in the budget 75 million. Now I'm going to make a special appeal, probably to draw down some funds from the environmental levy to help us on a continuous basis to be able to contain the landfill until we get to the longer term of divesting the facility to the private sector.
In the meantime, Minister Scott said the police had begun initial investigations to catch the persons who started the fire. The country's medical emergency response system is to receive 6 additional ambulances to bolster its operations. The ambulances will be presented to St. John Ambulance of Jamaica through the grassroots human security project that's operated by the government of Japan. Chairman of the Council of St. John Ambulance Earl Jarrett and Japanese Ambassador to Jamaica Yasuo Takase signed the contract last Thursday. Health Minister Dr. Fenton Ferguson was at the signing ceremony and expressed his appreciation for the ambulances.
The fact that additional ambulances will be available to St. John's, Jamaica will definitely complement our existing fleet and strengthen the ability to respond to the health needs of the citizens in a timely manner.
Between 2012 and 2014, government bought 19 new ambulances which were deployed to the public health system. With support from the Chase Fund, another 16 will be purchased soon. Over 1 million kilograms of onions are expected to be harvested within the next 3 weeks as government ramps up production of the crop to satisfy local demand. Chief Technical Director in the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, Don McGlashan, says of that number, 600,000 kilograms will be reaped from the farms within the agri-parks network. The remaining 500,000 kilograms are expected from farms outside of the network.
That is considerable, ladies and gentlemen, in light of the fact that in 2013, we only produced 680 tons.
Mr. McGlashan was speaking during a recent tour of the Yalas Agri-Park in St. Thomas, where over 20 hectares are under onion production. That's an increase of 100% when compared to the same period in 2014 and is being facilitated under the Onion Development Program. Portfolio Minister Derek Kelly said this level of production was expected to reduce importation by 15% in the first phase.
So between RADA, NIC and the ministry and the people in research, I think we have an adequate team to make sure that this program succeeds.
The community of Rosetown in West Kingston is one of 18 across the island set to benefit from a $42 million integrated community development project. The project, which is being implemented by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, was recently launched in that community. As part of the initiative, citizens will be engaged to build capacity for sustainable development.
We will be looking at
basic infrastructure such as road improvements, sewage, water supply, household sanitation, utility regularization, zinc fence removal, and that's just the hardware, if you want to say.
It will also include the provision of social services such as recreational projects, minor rehabilitation to school classrooms, provision of birth certificates, mentorship programs, employment and skills training opportunities, and youth and parenting support. Various government agencies, ministries and departments along with the community will collaborate on the program. The project is funded by a World Bank loan to the government of Jamaica.
What that loan can do is to plant the seeds such that over time we can spend less on security and more on education. We can spend less on clearing up and cleaning gullies and more on health services. But we can't forever be repairing damage which we ourselves created.
And finally, new Custos Rotolorum of St. Andrew Donna Parchment Brown has pledged to increase the number of justices of the peace serving the parish in order to effectively meet the needs of all citizens. Ms. Parchment was delivering her inaugural address following her installation ceremony last Thursday.
I intend to hear the voices of the JPs and the people of St. Andrew and to carry out the duties set out in the Custos Rotolorum Act and all the other sources with diligence and dignity. I will use tools of affirmation, communication, and cooperation rooted in respect.
The new Custos, who is a lawyer by profession, is popularly known for her work at the Dispute Resolution Foundation from 1994 to 2013. For her outstanding contribution, she was awarded the Order of Distinction Commander Class in 2004. Donna Parchment Brown replaces Marigold Harding, who served as the Custos of St. Andrew from 2010. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.
That can easily change if we allow the cutting of trees, forest fires, animal grazing, crop cultivation, or improper dwellings to destroy our forest reserves. Help preserve Jamaica's flora and fauna. If you know or suspect that someone is hurting our forest reserves, call 1-888-FORESTS. Remember, protecting our forests means sustaining our lives.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller and her team of ministers in the Office of the Prime Minister had several engagements this past week. Highlights of the major assignments are next.
Coming up in Jamaica House Weekly.
Barack Obama, President of the United States of America, will pay a state visit to Jamaica on 9th April 2015.
First ever Special Olympics multipurpose facility opens and ground breaks for construction of $168 million running track at GC Foster College. Last Tuesday, Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller told Parliament that U.S. President Barack Obama would pay a state visit to the island on April 9. During the visit, the Prime Minister and President Obama are expected to hold bilateral talks on a range of issues. Jamaica will also host discussions between President Obama and CARICOM heads of government on matters of security and trade.
We are confident that the visit will be marked by fruitful dialogue and exchanges that will serve to strengthen the close relations that exist at the bilateral level between Jamaica and the USA and between the USA and CARICOM.
Following the discussions in Jamaica, Mrs. Simpson-Miller, her CARICOM counterparts, and the U.S. President will head to Panama City for the 7th Summit of the Americas scheduled for April 10 and 11. The hemispheric meeting will welcome Cuba for the first time. Last week, the minister responsible for information chaired a meeting to update the nation on the ongoing operation to extinguish the fire at the Riverton City disposal site in St. Andrew.
The government recognizes the health effects and the inconvenience that the fire and the smoke have caused to persons, especially in Kingston, Clarendon, St. Catherine, St. Andrew, and these areas. And we are very concerned, and we want to ensure that we get rid of it as quickly as possible.
The new Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management ODPEM, Major Clive Davis, told the media briefing that the island had passed the worst as operations on the ground was progressing at a steady and satisfactory pace.
The fire is described as contained and is being extinguished as we speak.
Up to midday Monday, the fire was over 90% contained. And the minister responsible for sport, Natalie Nita Headley, had several engagements this past week. On Wednesday, she broke ground for the construction of a $168 million running track at the GC Foster College. The 8-lane IAAF certified running track is to be completed within 4 months. Mrs. Nita Headley expressed hopes that the track, when completed, would not only benefit athletes and coaches, but also the wider community.
We believe we will embark on seeing how best we can incorporate some training and development for community members, giving them certification here from the school in much shorter courses. And it's important because you don't exist in a vacuum. They are going to be needed to assist you in protecting what you have.
Before that, she officially opened the first ever Special Olympics court at Independence Park Limited. The $8.2 million facility will allow some 4,000 registered special needs athletes to develop skills in volleyball, basketball, and netball.
This opening of this facility here at IPL today is a timely blessing as it comes just in time for the final preparation of our team, which will be going to the 2015 World Summer Games in Los Angeles, where Jamaica is slated to participate in unified football, female football, athletics, badminton, basketball, swimming, boxing, and volleyball.
Mrs. Nita Headley was also in Western Jamaica recently promoting sport on that end of the island. At the Westmoreland Football Association Awards, the minister made a commitment to take advantage of opportunities available for sport tourism in the parish.
With the right investment from the private sector, I know the development of infrastructure for the sport and full government support, there is no limit as to how far Westmoreland football can go.
The minister also pledged to improve sport infrastructure in the parish to include high schools and community play fields. And Mrs. Nita Headley gave some attention to table tennis at the 2015 Jamaica Winter Open Championships in Montego Bay, St. James.
The sport of table tennis is good, clean fun. It's exciting, it's good exercise, and it is something fantastic to watch. I'm liking the fact that it is in Montego Bay because it is adding to the tourism product. I'm congratulating those sponsors who have seen the value of this product.
And that's it for this week's edition of Jamaica House Weekly. Join us next time for the latest stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister will make her contribution to the 2015-2016 budget debate in Parliament tomorrow. No doubt she will provide more details of government's plans for further growth and development in the country. The debate opened with a presentation by Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips, who published the government's growth strategy. Here now are the major elements of his presentation.
The baseline projection for growth for 2015-2016 is 1.6%.
To ensure that happens, government is pursuing a creative mix of strategies to move the economy forward. The first order of business is to reduce the debt. By the end of the 2015-2016 fiscal year, Jamaica's debt to gross domestic product GDP ratio should reach 130.7%. But fiscal consolidation is not all. Government will also be intensifying efforts to boost agricultural production, reduce energy costs, improve our tourism product, enhance the logistics hub initiative, and further expand the business process outsourcing BPO sector. The BPO sector currently employs over 17,000 persons.
A national 5-year strategy for the expansion of the sector has been prepared, and it will see an increase in employment from the current levels of 15,000 up to 30,000 by 2020.
Much emphasis will also be placed on micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs. In this fiscal year, the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ, exceeded its $3 billion lending target and approved close to 9,000 loans.
For 2015-2016, the Development Bank of Jamaica has set a lending target to MSMEs of $4 billion.
Under its loan guarantee program, DBJ will also increase the maximum value of its guarantee from $10 to $15 million to cover up to 50% of loans to small and medium-sized enterprises. Regarding the 8 fund managers who submitted proposals for the Venture Capital Fund,
the DBJ and some investors are now doing due diligence on 6 of the fund managers, and it is expected that in the course of the 15-16 fiscal year, 1 or 2 fund managers will be actively operating.
In the 2015-2016 fiscal year, government will also continue to improve the business environment by reducing bureaucracy and continuing the public sector transformation process, making the system and institutions more efficient.
Among the specific projects to be implemented in the course of this fiscal year is the second phase of the automated system for customs data, ASICUDA it is called. The targeted date for the completion of this phase is June 2015.
And through the application management and data automation Amanda system, parish councils will intensify their operations to grant building approvals within 90 days. The Government Electricity Inspectorate will also be re-engineered and automated to improve its efficiency, and the corporate services of some public sector entities will be shared. The establishment of a new Labour Market Reform Commission was also announced to ensure that industrial relations practices facilitate higher levels of productivity. Upcoming legislation will also strengthen the banking sector.
To assign institutional responsibility for safeguarding overall financial system stability to the Bank of Jamaica.
Steps to privatize key government entities will also continue. So far, 6 firms have expressed interest in the Norman Manley International Airport. Requests for proposals will be issued as soon as Cabinet grants the approval. A concession agreement for the Kingston Container Terminal is also expected to be signed in the first quarter of the next fiscal year, following Cabinet's approval. Individuals will also have greater opportunities to pursue tertiary education in the next fiscal year. The Students' Loan Bureau will be introducing a new loan option called Pay As You Study, allowing parents, guardians, and working students to do just that as long as they can afford the monthly deductions.
The benefits include the lowest rate of interest for a tuition loan, a longer repayment time, smaller monthly payments.
That takes effect in September of this year. At the same time, the children of public sector workers will be able to access a loan from the SLB with 1 guarantor based on satisfactory assessment. There's also a 35% reduction in the applications processing fees for the children of public sector workers and a 1% reduction to their student loan interest rate. There was a budget gap of $22 billion in the 2015-2016 fiscal year, but government said it would only seek $10.4 billion of that amount from taxes.
Tax compliance efforts are expected to provide $12.3 billion.
A number of revenue measures have been announced to secure the remaining $10.4 billion. These include an increase in the special consumption tax SCT on every stick of cigarette and a reimposition of the standard GCT rate on residential electricity usage above 350 kilowatt hours. The 0.5% environmental levy on imported goods will also be applied to domestic sales with some exceptions, and $500 million will come from rationalizing several outdated trade and business license fees. Government also expects to earn $6.4 billion from an increase to the SCT rates on petrol. That money will be used to insure against any sharp increases in global oil prices and any negative consequences for Jamaica's economy.
Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, the government has taken the decision to purchase a hedge in the market. We propose to hedge 50% of our oil consumption. What I'm saying here, does not affect the electricity component.
Effective January 1 next year, the income tax threshold will be increased to $592,800 per annum, allowing workers to take home more of their pay. The government of Jamaica, using a creative mix of policies to expand opportunities and enhance growth in the Jamaican economy.
This is one time we don't want you to laugh.
Staying safe on the road is a serious thing.
Mr. Taxi driver and bus driver, take time, no man. People, so one-stop driver and come off.
Cyclists, motorcyclists, pedestrian, all road users using the head.
Only if you use cell phone and drive. No, man.
Idiot thing that.
Road safety is no laughing matter.
Because we want you to be around
and laughing with us for a long time.
A message from the National Road Safety Council and National Health Fund.
Whether it is drought, water shortage, flooding or storms, as an island, Jamaica is susceptible to several weather-related phenomena. It's a fact the government is aware of, and it's taking action.
We're all aware that environmental and climate change resilience is a strategic priority of government. If we do not protect our natural environment while boosting our capacity and tailoring our lifestyle to deal with changes in the environment, our plans for economic prosperity will be limited to just that, a plan. And so the government has been working on a raft of measures to deal with extended changes in weather patterns, or simply put, climate change. It's all being coordinated by the Climate Change Division in the Ministry of Water, Land, Environment and Climate Change. In June 2014, government received and installed 2 automatic weather stations to enhance climate data collection by the Meteorological Services of Jamaica. The acquisition supports the strategy to achieve climate change resilience and comes courtesy of government's participation in the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center 5Cs project. Funded by the European Union, the project coordinates the region's management and adaptation to climate change. The automatic weather stations have since been installed in Manchester, one in New Forest and the other at the Sugar Industry Research Institute.
That has improved our capacity to collect climate data electronically. So we minimize the element of human error that sometimes goes along with manually reading, for example, the rain gauge and stuff like that. So information can be downloaded from this equipment and then uploaded on computer, at the head office of the Met Services of Jamaica.
There's another component to the 5Cs project that government is actively pursuing: data storage. By the end of December 2014, Jamaica should benefit from the development of a climate change data node.
It is a sort of database of climate information. So we will be developing our capacity to store data electronically, climate change data that is. And this we are getting help to do from this project. It involves us acquiring software, it involves us acquiring licenses, it involves us acquiring additional bandwidth, it involves some level of equipment as well too.
Through this upcoming database for climate change, government will be able to store and analyze information to guide policies and programs. Think about it. Information on the climate is needed for long-term planning. Based on that data, technocrats can come up with projections over a period of time. So if there's a projection for below average rainfall over the next 10 years, for example, stakeholders can plan to expand water storage facilities. That's one way of being resilient to drought, which is sometimes due to climate change.
There's also support to get help, expertise to convert handwritten climate information or data into an electronic format. And already computers have been acquired to facilitate this process, and we anticipate that in short order we'll be having persons employed to actually do the actual work of converting manual or handwritten data into data in electronic format.
Under the 5Cs project, Government also continues to work on a climate change vulnerability assessment and an adaptation strategy and action plan for the fisheries sector.
That is something that we're anticipating we'll get support for to the tune of just around $150,000 US. There are some challenges at the moment in terms of the implementation time, but we are anticipating that with approval forthcoming for extension of the project, the 5Cs will be able to assist us in acquiring the technical expertise to carry out the development of the strategy and action plan as well as the vulnerability assessment.
The 5Cs project was originally scheduled to end in December 2014, but discussions are ongoing for it to be extended until June 2015. As government acts on strategic priority number 6, the administration is looking to extend a pilot program for climate change resilience. Discussions are ongoing with the Climate Investment Fund.
We have already gotten funding as a country for phase 1, just over $500,000 US for phase 1, and that helped us to prepare a number of documents. For example, the State of the Climate report for 2012, that was financed from that project.
Under Phase 2, which is being discussed with the Inter-American Development Bank, the plan is for Jamaica to integrate climate change considerations into a number of priority sectors, like health, agriculture, and tourism.
We need to develop a strategy as to how we can make these sectors more resilient to the impacts of climate change. So this particular project is going to help us to develop sector strategies outlining how and what we need to do to minimize the anticipated impacts, negative impacts of climate change.
Let's put it in context. If a beach is being eroded, tourists will no longer have an area of white sand to relax. Added to that, the infrastructure of a hotel might be threatened. But if various stakeholders take beach erosion into account while carrying out different activities, it will help to minimize the impact of climate change. The government of Jamaica, implementing feasible plans to adapt to climate change, achieving strategic priority number 6, environmental and climate change resilience.
Welcome to the FSC Minute. I am Nadine Newsom. Today we explore issues related to investments, and joining me is Sonia Nicholson, Senior Director of Securities with the FSC. Welcome to the FSC Minute, Sonia.
Thank you, Nadine.
Sonia, what is a client statement?
Nadine, a client statement is essentially a report from an entity detailing the client's investment with that entity. It can be regarded as a statement of account.
And what is required on a client statement?
A client statement, by law, is required to detail the type of investment the client has with that entity, the debit or the credit balance that may be on the client statement, and also a statement indicating whether the funds are held for safekeeping or in segregation.
How often should investors receive client statements from their securities dealers?
Once there's a credit or a debit balance or securities held on behalf of clients, the securities dealer should send statements to the client at the end of each month once there's a transaction during the month. If there's no activity, then the client statement should be sent once every 3 months at the very least.
Thank you, Sonia. My guest today was Sonia Nicholson, Senior Director of Securities at the FSC. For the FSC Minute, I am Nadine Newsom.
this is where the curtains come down on today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. If you've missed parts of the show, just head to our website and watch it at your leisure. And keep the lines of communication open, won't you? Email us jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. For those of you on the go, keep abreast of what's happening by downloading the JIS mobile app from the Google Play Store. On behalf of the entire team at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson, thanking you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.